All right, yeah, normal schedule uploads. I'm working on it. I'm in the process. Traveling throws me off my game just a touch. Not with the training. The training never stops. That's I don't even feel like it gets hindered much, but the recording and uploading of the training does get thrown on a little bit of a loop. But no, so this is day one. Finally made it out to Vegas, and it is Olympia weekend. So shit is gonna be going down. I can guarantee I saw a couple competitors and or affiliates in the Walmart when I went and got a bunch of canned chicken and tuna and everything to put in the hotel room so I can have actual food to eat. Yeah, no, this is fun. The pilgrimage has, probably for the most part, been completed in that, beyond anyone coming in the next few days, all of the freaks, beasts, and anywhere in between of, fitness and, more primarily bodybuilding are here. They've all condensed into one spot, which is really cool for me because I love feeding off of that energy. I know that everybody's here, and there's always kind of like a little bit of a show-offiness of, oh, yeah, I'm here. You've only seen me on my phone, or you've only ever seen me on your phone, but now here I am in person. Guys who you've, never freaking, barely ever see before, just coming out of the woodworks, showing out. So, what that tells me is I don't want to get caught slacking, right? I don't want to get caught, fumbling with something and then whatever, right? I want to be on my A game. Now, weight-wise, not so much. Dieting down, there's no 4-plate. Well, there's only occasional 4-plate Smith bench. Very, very sporadic, only on a day I'm extra strong. Most of the time 3 plates is the limit, if not just like chilling on cables doing squeezing stuff. But I'm really emulating, I'm actually giving myself deja vu right now. It's probably close to the exact same day that I came down to Vegas for the last Olympia and went to Torture Gym and did a chest day. And I got to see Milos. That was, time freaking flies. So yeah, last year was the that chest day post Olympia with Urs. So it's a whole year has passed. I'm in the exact same place I was before. Nice. I'm a different guy. I got to go back to the Fit Club and actually write my name down on the wall. There's a little clip when I was working out with Jay, where the back room there's a bunch of IFBB Pro signatures, and there was like a little moment where I looked at it. I'm like, I'll come back to this later. All right. So things have changed. But as much as they change and as much as they should change, some things in the equation have got to stay the same, right? This is something I really can't emphasize enough. There's a lot of really interesting kind of thought processes or kind of understandings of things that you can come up with. And a lot of the time, really cool, like eureka moment thoughts are things along the lines of like a Bruce Lee, like be like water, right? Flow yet strike. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, right? Hit without being hit, or whatever, right? Things like that. Where sometimes the point of something is a little bit deceiving, right? So you might think, okay, I want to post myself working out. Okay, what should I do? I should make the craziest workout edits. I should get camera guys, and I should have a team of editors, and I should blah 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 blah. Like, sometimes that's what one might think is going to improve whatever that thing is, but really, guys who work out like a beast are going to have the best chance because they know what they're talking about, and they really do it. They live it. So what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm trying to highlight, is the idea that, even though this weekend is going to be nuts in terms of, oh my gosh, yeah, it's been a whole year since I've seen Ramon, And just from seeing some of the videos, he is freaking diced. I don't know if you've ever seen these guys in person, but it's really crazy. So I'm just getting freaking excited about everything. But, as cool as all of that is, don't forget, this is just a very short time period. This is just a weekend out of an entire year, out of, however many years have added up to bring this weekend into fruition for these guys, and the same for anything, for anyone who posts on social media or, wins bodybuilding shows or powerlifting, whatever. Like, this little tip of the pyramid is this really cool show-offy part that's inspiring and motivating and gets people in the zone and gets people like just freaking fired up to get after it. But you've got to maintain that energy when it comes to everything underneath, right? Like, imagine a food pyramid. Right at the top, that's cool, badass, show off, big, veiny, dieted, whatever. And everything else underneath, lift X years, cardio X whatever, potentially things that somebody gave up so that they could stick to their routine, or like restaurants they didn't go to, or just sacrifices that they made, where for some, dieting down at all is an insane challenge, right? Like, honestly, there's a degree where like an actual bodybuilder, someone who's really into fitness, is actually going to have it easier because their motivation is so clear and strong that they want to diet. Like, it's hard, but they really want to do it, so it's not as tricky, right? But that's the things those are the components that aren't as flashy, they're not super cool, but they really add up, and they allow, or at least they build enough of a support structure to have that cool show-offy part at the top, So, I wonder what endeavor has the craziest ratio of work to performance, right? Because with bodybuilding and we're just working out and being huge, I don't know. Every workout's almost a performance, because you're in the gym, you're going hard, usually you're pretty motivated, but compared to like being really lean or dieted or whatever, it's still a pretty good ratio, right, of work to result. Or like if you want to be a high-level golfer, how much time does one spend on like a winning tournament versus, hitting balls at the range, short game, putting, everything, or, a football player reading, not even doing plays, but watching tapes of plays, learning them, planning them, practicing them, and then actually doing it, So there's got to be a strong connection in your mind where you value everything that goes into it on the back end, because that's what it's going to take to have that badass front end support that you can show off. And not even show off like for its own sake, but just achieve. I will not get any substantial amount leaner over these next few months without cardio and calorie intervention, right? It's not going to happen. I would get no bigger if I don't actually really track my food, make sure I eat enough and train consistently. Like, it just won't happen, right? The equation will always balance out. So in an extreme, shit training, shit diet, shit recovery, shit results. Badass training, badass recovery, badass diet, badass results, So those are 1-to-1, or at least as close as anything I can think of in the world. There's not apart from maybe, if your dad was Arnold, or if your dad was like Sergio Oliva or whatever, or if your dad was whoever with the most insane genetics in the world, there's not a ton of potentially nepotism or anything involved with the gym, right? You're either going to get whatever results that you're capable of, or you'll just get whatever results you're capable of. That's kind of it. There's no or. It's just kind of on a scale. Someone who's only willing to do this much is only going to get this much. Someone who's willing to do this much, who's to say there's even a limit on what he can get? But I think nothing else to say there. Plan for chest today, and I'm not texting. I'm looking at looking at the maps so I don't miss an exit. But plan for chest is to get a pump. Plan for chest is to pump my chest up as much as I can, not hurt myself, and enjoy. That's what I'm thinking. Those are my three, right? Get a crazy pump, or no, enjoy getting a crazy pump uninjured. That's my mantra. That's my mantra going forward for this dieting phase. But yeah, I think nothing else to say. 8 o'clock, I doubt there's going to be too many people in here. And even if there are, the fact that it's Olympia weekend, I know that they're going to be freaking beasts. So I think nothing else to say, but let's just get started. Freaking set aperture to auto makes it easy. Because like if I'm not here for a bulk or whatever, shoot at F11.
No one's watching the video being like, why is this not an F2, man? Come on.
Yeah, the only time people comment about it is when I'm using a manual focus lens and I don't focus it right. And they're like, dude, what the fuck? Your camera's broken. Your camera's busted.
You in the comments, like, come on.
All right. Oh, goodness. There we go. Oh.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's enough of that. Okay. All right. Yeah, sorry about the audio. The music is sweet in here, but the music is loud in here. So I'm going to have to do some freaking editing CGI to not get a freaking copyright claim. But overall, I'm feeling pumped like a mofo. I'm getting a little bit shown up because some of these guys are diced. Like I'm getting there, you know, I'm not too soft, but I'm not like peeled. But either way, let's just run through a couple.
You know they have a sin. They turn a second on the living proof. I pull up in the loft, I had this real street. When I'm in and not the groove, I wait till they stories.
Oh, yes. All right, let's get one more old school side chest. Then we get back to the car and get out of here. Oh my goodness. Pumped. Yeah. Sorry for the audio. Unless, you know, I pull something crazy out editing wise and then somehow make it sound awesome. But no, that was cool. That was cool. Got a little glimpse of a certain Mr. Fitzwater. Totally freaking nuts. Never seen a grainier version of him in my freaking life. At least from some of the check-in photos. But no, this is gonna be quite the show. Honestly, I think this is gonna be the wildest Olympia the wildest Olympia of late. That is for freaking sure. Because open-wise, there are goddamn sharks in the water. Right? A Derek Lunsford and a Samson Dowda. Total nutcases. They've got a track record of just being total beasts. A Nick Walker return. Of course, he was at Pittsburgh, but this is the real thing back at the Olympia. And then, who else am I missing? Derek, Samson, Nick, Martin. Hadi Chupin, same thing. Basically, always comes in. It's just, when it comes to the bodybuilding, or just bodybuilding in general, I'm not following every show specifically, but no, this is going to be, I don't think anyone can make 100% guaranteed prediction of how the open side is going to go either. And Classic, I don't freaking know. Classic, I'm talking, when I saw Logan Franklin at the Arnold, he looked like he time traveled forward from like straight out of the 90s. Like he looked like he should be standing next to Tom Platz in terms of just how you describe the Classic look, just real hard cut up. So yeah, it's just cool to see. And it's there's a little bit of an extra angle that I get to look at it now that I've done a few bodybuilding shows, because I know what it took to get me to what I could present for the last 2 amateur shows. But now seeing what these guys are pulling off pro-wise, not even just size, but also conditioning. It's just freaking cool, right? It's almost more fun when you know how the sausage gets made, if you follow me. But no, this is going to be a crazy weekend. Not even to mention the Amateur Olympia that's going down tomorrow night, which is going to be freaking jam-packed of everybody too. So there's no love lost on any competitor this weekend, which I am really excited to see. So yeah, it's just going to get me extra motivated for the next few lifts. Pump was solid. Feeling pumped for sure. I can tell I was still a little bit, not puffy, but you can kind of, there's a certain feeling when you've sat on a plane all day and then you hit a workout where it's just a little something going on. But yeah, now it's about time to kick it up a notch in terms of dieting strictness. So far has been relatively chill. For me to just not be bulking has taken me down pretty substantially now that I'm down to like a 251-ish morning weight, empty stomach. But yeah, now it's time to get real. So just about 7-ish weeks in, a little less than 7. Yeah, now it's time to start phase. Oh, damn. Phase not red light. Now it's time to start phase 2. Or I guess you could almost call this phase 1 of really kind of stepping it up a notch. So far, I honestly haven't been feeling crazy hungry, just because I've been riding the wave of post-bulk, where if you eat food to a high degree long enough, you start to get sick of it. Not only physically from like insulin sensitivity and just your gut biome and like, kind of bulk fatigue, but also mentally of just the feeling of eating a bunch of freaking stuff, So every time I bulk up and I eat basically to the level where I can't eat enough to gain any more weight, at least not substantially, what that does is now it puts me in a position of, man, I'm not freaking hungry. So when I start dieting, the beginning is the easiest part, because I'm already in a like state of mind of, ugh, like I don't even want to eat a bunch of food right now, But that begins to fade. That feeling begins to fade, where you start to lower your calories, you get a little more used to it. Now you're starting to get a little more appetite, and that's what you really got to fight against when it comes to getting leaner. Because maybe for a few weeks you're not that hungry, and then you're not eating, and you're getting leaner, and you're getting a little bit whatever. But that's fleeting. You can't just ride that, at least not for too long. So that's where I can't hype up enough the idea of really starting to track everything and cardio and calories and just being extra hyper consistent with all the stuff that you do training wise, because that's the only way forward. It's like you've got to it's like a situation where you've got this journey or this trek. Nobody's doing a cross-country road trip without a map. You need some direction and some kind of constraints on where to go and how to do it so that you actually reach your goal. Like, it's not to say that there's only one way to do it, but I don't think anyone gets very substantially lean or makes, very good, solid, substantial progress just by winging it and saying, I was good today, I dieted, let's eat a bunch of shit, and then basically reverse all the good that the guy just did from that day. Not saying everyone does that, but that's not an uncommon situation, right? I mean, that's classic logic. Oh, I didn't have breakfast, I had a Coke Zero instead, nice. I had a salad for lunch, good. And I skipped my post-work snack, and then I went straight to the gym. All right, I earned it. And then you eat 2,500 calories before you go to bed, and you just undid that whole day of, whatever. And then there's guys where, there's a twofold not revelation, but it's kind of understanding once you start tracking your calories. I don't even want to say limiting. I'm not saying you have to limit it or make sure you hit a certain number. Just for a few days, try to track all the calories of all the food that you eat. Don't eat differently. Like, eat the exact same amount of food that you were eating before, but this time just try to track it. You know, if you reach into a bag of chips and you're saying, I'm going to eat a bunch of these Doritos, put the bag on a scale, zero out the scale, pick up the bag, eat all the freaking, Doritos you want, and then put the bag back on the scale and find out how many you ate. And just do the math of how many servings you had, plug that into a little app, whatever, and then add it up all day and see what happens, because if you think that you're like, oh dude, I'm starving myself, but you really ate 2,800 calories, that should be a little bit of a wake-up call. Like, you got to start locking down your shit a little bit. Or, which I think is almost sometimes worse, is guys, when they think they're eating a ton, they think they're, freaking eating like they're Brian Shaw getting ready for World's Strongest Man, and then they track everything and they find out, holy crap, I only had 2,300 calories today. I thought I was eating a ton, but I guess really I wasn't. Like little things like that. So it's, sometimes it's the things that you can't, if you just don't know about it, well, then you don't have any control over it. And sometimes it's, ignorance is bliss. If I don't know it's a problem, I don't have a problem. If I don't know that it's really bad, well, then guess what? It's not bad. It's nothing, right? So I think sometimes with dieting, people fall into that logic because they know you kind of have to count everything and you put some effort into it. But look, I promise, the reward is well worth the effort. And before you know it, you're not even going to feel the effort of having to track your calories, because once you value doing it, you're just going to keep doing it. Once you what's a good example of that? It just becomes a positive habit that you have. And habits aren't intentional. Habits don't require a ton of effort. It's almost like a second level action that you take in your day, just like tying your shoes or walking. Like, I don't think okay, I need to take a step and take a step and take a step and take a step and keep my balance. Like, it's just, walking's just something you do. And with the calorie counting, I know it's a little bit trickier than walking. It will become the same thing. And in the process, you're just going to be better at calorie estimation, where you can look at a meal from a restaurant, and within probably there's a lot of random game shows. I want to see the game show where people get presented with different meals and you have to guess how many grams of carbs, fats, and proteins are in it. And person to get the closest guess wins. I think I would actually do pretty well in that. And then you just get a better understanding. And then you can say to yourself, I ate 600 grams of carbs today. My chest is already pumped after set number 2. I wonder if there's a correlation between those two pieces of information. I wonder if being carved up is making me feel stronger in the gym and making me feel like I have more energy. Right? Little things like that, where it's not groundbreaking, but once you feel it yourself, right, you start to get it. You start to kind of, you'll start to see the value. That's what I think, at least. And in terms of the guys who get to show up for all these competitions this weekend, yeah, guess what? They all know what they're doing. They're all tracking everything like total beasts, and they're not just, winging it, because they know the value. They know that if they count other things and see all that information and whatever, then that's going to let them reach the goals that they want to achieve at a reasonable time frame, or, in some instances at a freaking time crunch. Like with these shows, you've got up until this day to get into shape and whatever. And they actually, say they're going to do it, get after it, make it happen. That's what I want to see, right? That's what I want to see, and that's what I think everyone also wants to see for themselves. So it's not like I'm putting a responsibility on someone. I don't think that's even something I could or should do, But I just want to kind of put out my personal value on, working out and calories and everything, because I know that I like it. And I like it so much I want to freaking talk about it and get more people to do it, right? I'm on a goddamn lifting pilgrimage across the world, and I want to get that message out there. The more people in the gym, the better. That is for freaking sure. But I'm going to get back to the hotel, splice this lift together, try to get it uploaded before midnight Vegas time. And then I'm going to bed. So I'll see you tomorrow.